I want you to listen to the voice in your head, the voice that speaks up when things go wrong. When you look at your bank account and it's empty, what does that voice say? The economy is bad. My boss doesn't pay me enough. My ex-wife took everything. Now, when you look at your marriage falling apart, what does the voice say? She's nuts. She's hormonal. She changed. She isn't the same woman I married. Now, when you look at the scale and see a number that disgusts you, what does that voice say? Oh, I don't have time to train. I have bad genetics. Healthy food is too expensive. This voice has a name. It's not reason, and it's not logic. It is the victim virus. And right now, if your life is in a state of system failure, I guarantee that you are infected with it. Welcome back to the Resurrection Podcast. I am Acusio Bavona. Today, we are going to talk about the only cure for this virus. We are going to talk about a concept made famous by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin called extreme ownership, or what I call radical self-accountability. Now, you might have heard of their book. You might have even read it. But reading it and living it are two completely different things. Most men read it and think, yeah, that's great for Navy SEALs. That's great for CEOs. But they don't apply it to the fact that their teenage son hates them. They don't apply it to the fact that they are 40 pounds overweight. Today, we're taking the concept of radical self-accountability out of the battlefield and into your living room. Because the moment you blame anyone else for your problems, even if it's 99% their fault, you have surrendered your power. You have handed the keys of your life to the person who hurt you. We are going to take those keys back. Let's look at the physics of blame. When you say, my wife is making me miserable, look at the literal sentence structure. The subject is my wife. The action is making, and the object is me. In that sentence, she is the active force. You are the passive object. In other words, she is the hammer and you are the nail. If she is the cause of your misery, then she is the only one who can actually fix it. You then have to wait for her to change, or you have to wait for her to be nicer, or you have to wait for her to apologize. In this situation, you are helpless. You're basically a passenger in your own car. Yet, ironically, this is why blame is seductive. It feels good in the moment because it protects your ego. It tells you, you're a good guy, man. This isn't your fault. The world is just unfair. It's an anesthetic. It numbs the pain of failure. But like any anesthetic, if you stay on it too long, you're gonna die. Radical self-accountability is the exact opposite. It fucking hurts. It fucking burns. It requires you to look in the mirror and say, I am here because of me. My marriage is failing because I failed to lead it. My team is failing because I failed to clarify the mission. My kids are addicted to screens because I didn't give them a better alternative. Now, this may sound harsh. It may even sound like self-punishment. But it is actually the most liberating thing you will ever do. Why? Because if you are the problem, then you become the solution. If you broke it, you can fix it. Radical self-accountability gives you the hammer back. Now, there's one thing I want to be clear on. I am not talking about shame. Shame is, I'm a piece of shit and I suck. That is useless. That really is just the victim mindset in reverse. Self-accountability is, I made a mistake. Here is the plan to fix it, and here are the steps to prevent it from happening again. Shame looks backward. Ownership looks forward. Now let's take this and get more tactical. I want to run a simulation with you. This is probably the most common scenario I hear on my strategy calls. You come home. Your wife is cold. She's snapping at you. Maybe you forgot to do something she asked. Maybe you were late. And she starts yelling. She brings up things from 3 years ago. Or she calls you lazy. The default response is going to be the victim. That presents as your defenses go up. And you think, I worked all day for this fucking family. I provide the roof over our heads. And I come home to this disrespect? She's irrational. She's ungrateful. So you fight back. Or you retreat to the man cave like we talked about last week. You say, I'm not dealing with this crazy bitch. And the result is war, distancing, resentment. Now, let's apply radical self-accountability. Jocko has a saying, there are no bad teams, only bad leaders. And if we translate that to this situation, there are no bad families, only bad husbands. If your wife is crazy, it's because she feels unsafe. If she's chaotic, it's because there is a lack of structure. If she doesn't trust you, it's because you have given her evidence that you are untrustworthy. So the accountability response is that you stop the fight. You lower your voice. You kill your ego that wants to be right. And you say this, hey, listen, I need to say something. You're frustrated, and you have every right to be frustrated. I told you I would handle that task, and I didn't. That's on me. I honestly have been distracted lately. I haven't been leading this family the way I should, and I've let our standards slip. Because I've been slacking, you've had to pick up that slack, and that is stressing you out. I'm sorry. Here is exactly what I'm going to do. I am going to fix X right now, and then on Sunday, I want to sit down with you and look at the schedule so I don't drop the ball again. I am going to do better. Just take a second and let that settle in. What happens in that room when you say that? The fight ends instantly. How can she fight you? You just agreed with her. You just took the ammo, metaphorically, out of her gun. She expects you to defend yourself. She expects you to blame her tone. But when you take ownership of the failure, you disarm the conflict. You shifted the dynamic from me versus you to us versus the problem. But it requires you to swallow a massive pill of pride. It requires you to admit you were wrong, even if she was yelling. And even if she was 40% wrong, you own your 60%. Actually, you own the whole 100%. You own the fact that you allowed the dynamic to get to this point in the first place. Now let's take this and move it to the workplace. Many of you may feel stuck in your career, or you feel like your team isn't performing. Here's this scenario. You manage a team, or at the very least, you just have a coworker you rely on. You gave them a project, and you said, get this done by Friday. Friday rolls around, and the work is trash. It's incomplete, and it's wrong. The victim response would be that you explode. I can't fucking believe this guy. What a fucking idiot. He doesn't listen. I have to do everything my fucking self. No one wants to work anymore. You rewrite the report yourself, seething with rage. And then you complain to your boss about him or her. The accountability response is that you look yourself in the mirror. If your coworkers didn't execute the mission or your team, you as the commander failed to clarify the mission. So you sit with that coworker or employee, and instead of chewing their ass out, you say, this report isn't what we needed. That's my fault. I didn't explain the parameters clearly enough. I didn't check in with you on Wednesday to see if you were on the right track. I made an assumption that you knew what done looked like, but I never gave you a clear example. I failed you. So I'm going to rewrite this tonight. But tomorrow, we're going to sit down and build a checklist for these reports so that next time you have everything you need to succeed. Does that make sense? And here's the result. You just built loyalty. If you yelled at them, they would get defensive. They would do the bare minimum to not get fired. But because you chose to take the bullet, they want to perform for you now. They don't want to let you down again. And more importantly, and this applies to this and the marriage scenario, you're actively fixing the system. The victim complains about the person. The leader fixes the process. I'm going to say that again because that's really, really, really important. Probably the most important thing I say in this podcast. The victim complains about the person. The leader fixes the process. By taking accountability, you identified why the failure happened as a result of lack of clarity, and you built a protocol to prevent it. That is how you get promoted. That is how you build an empire. Not by blaming the idiots, but by taking responsibility for their success. So with that frame of mind, I want to go even deeper. Those were specific situations. But what about the macro? What about the man who looks at his life at 45 years old and realizes he is alone, broke, or miserable? This is where radical self-accountability becomes spiritual. You have to look at your life, the sum total of all of it, as a printout of your decisions. Your belly is a printout of your discipline. Your bank account is a printout of your risk management and work ethic. Your empty house is a printout of your ability to love and to serve. Now, it's tempting to say, but Acusio, you don't understand. I had a rough childhood, or my dad was an alcoholic, or my ex-wife was a narcissist. The market crashed in 2008, if we all remember that. I know. And I'm definitely not saying those things didn't happen. And I'm most definitely not saying that you weren't victimized. What I am saying is that you can't stay a victim. If you were abused as a child, that was not your fault. But healing from it is your responsibility. If your wife cheated on you, that was her sin. But rebuilding your life is your responsibility. There's a concept I use in my coaching called total radius ownership. Imagine a circle around your feet. Everything inside that circle is yours. Your emotions, your reactions, your health, your skills, your future. If you spend your energy shouting at things outside the circle, like the economy or the weather or your ex-wife, you are wasting fuel. Turn your eyes and your heart inside the circle and ask yourself, what can I do right now to improve my position? I can put down the donut. I can pick up the book. I can apologize to my son. I can save $5 today. The moment you switch from why is this happening to me to what the fuck am I going to do about it, the resurrection begins. Here's your homework for this week. I want you to do an after-action review on your life. Grab a sheet of paper, and I want you to do this right now unless you're driving. Grab a sheet of paper and divide it into 3 columns. Column 1 list the problem. What is broken? Column 2, list the excuse. Who have I been blaming? And column 3, list the accountability. How did I contribute to this, and what is my plan? Here's an example. This is a common one I get fairly often. The problem, my son doesn't talk to me. The excuse is that he's just a rebellious teenager addicted to his phone. The accountability is I haven't tried to connect with his interests. I criticize him more than I praise him. I am on my phone too much. And here is the plan. On Saturday, I'm going to invite him to lunch. I'm going to leave my phone in the car, and I'm just going to listen without giving advice. And I can tell you, any fathers that are listening, as a son, even as an adult son, how much that can change the life of the relationship between you and your son if you just show up in that kind of way. It's way more impactful than you may think. And I want you to do this process for your body, for your money, and for your marriage. Stop looking for a villain in your story. When you look in the mirror, the villain is you. But the hero is you too. Accountability is heavy. It is a heavy burden to carry the weight of your whole world on your shoulders. It is much easier to remain a child and blame the adults. But you're not a child. You are a man. And men carry the weight. Men build structure. Men take responsibility even when it isn't fair. Especially when it isn't fair. When you pick up that weight, you will find that your legs get stronger. You will find that people start to respect you more because people follow leaders, and leaders own it all. If you're looking at your list of problems and you realize, I don't know how to fix these, I own them, but I don't have the tools, then reach out to me. Taking ownership means admitting you need a new strategy. I'm opening spots for the Resurrection Strategy Call. We will look at your after action report. We will find the failure points. And we will build the protocol to fix them together. Go to coachkuz.com and apply today. Stop blaming. Start building. I am Acusio Bavona, and I will see you in the work.